Hey besties, welcome back to the Cozy Corner. It's your girl Jen, and if you're new here, welcome. Just a regular old college student at Cal State Dominguez. But if you're not new here, welcome back to the chaos. So, last month was the month of June, right? We're now in July. It is officially July 6th, and I know, I'm a little bit late on this, and I'm sorry. I've been kind of in a slump. I'm not gonna lie. I've just been really crazy busy, and like I was supposed to have this uploaded last week, but you know what? It's totally fine. It's totally fine. We're just rolling with it and stuff like that. So, anyways. I'm going to go ahead and go over all of the books that I read in the month of June. And I won't lie, this whole like chunky series right here may or may not have put me in a semi reading slump just because there's so many. And don't mind my cat over here just scratching the hell out of her ear. I don't know what's up with her. She's cool. She's chilling. She's just hanging out and doing whatever the heck my cat does. And it's not that I don't like the series. It's cool. It's a solid 4-star series. It's just that there's so many books and not every book hooks you like the Throne of Glass series does. And if you don't know, the Throne of Glass series is my favorite series in the world, but I just know that everybody really either loves or hates this series, and so I wanted to give it a try. And it's still sitting at a 4-star series as a whole, but like, each book tends to differentiate. But also, these are long, thick ass books. So, sorry, without further ado, I'm just gonna go ahead and get into it. I'll start with the two manga that I read this month, just to kind of get them out of the way. A little bit of a change of pace for me. These were definitely like filler books for me when I got tired of the From Blood and Ash series and the Flesh and Fire series. I just kind of dove into one of these babies just to kind of like reset the brain. But I watched the anime of both of these books, and this one is upside down. Oh my gosh. And both love them both. Both are really awesome. This is Hell's Paradise, book one. If you don't know, you can watch it on Netflix. Actually, both of these books both of these books and anime you can watch on Netflix. But anyway, so we have Hell's Paradise. We're following a guy who went through a lot. I feel like every single tortured soul main character ends up going through like a whole bunch of stuff as they're a child. But this guy was raised as a ninja, and he ended up having to be like a mercenary ish for the village chief. And so he became like the best one that there ever was. He has killed so many people, but one day he ends up getting married to the village chief's daughter, and they end up having a solid good time. Very wholesome, very sweet. She kind of like teaches him that he can relax, he can let himself feel things, and everything's great. But something happened to her where she ended up getting marked off the planet just a little bit, and he ended up just kind of like spiraling down and going back to who he used to be, this very like cold-hearted hollow shell of a man. And he's actually called Gabimaro the Hollow, which, like I just said. So anyway, so this girl on the back, I keep forgetting her name. Let me just give me one moment so I can look at it. Hollow, death sentence. Oh my goodness, what is her name? Iwakakure. No. Okay, this is literally just killing me because I can't remember her name. However, this girl right here is basically going to be his handler for the entire series, and she ends up taking him to this one place where the shogunate is at, and they end up like her clan ends up wrangling up a bunch of thugs and like high level assassins and mercenaries and all these things, because the shogunate wants to gather what's called, or obtain what's called like the elixir of life or something. So these people kind of have like a Hunger Games trials essentially, where they end up going to this island that's literally made to kill them, and they have to find this like elixir of life. So Gabimaro the Hollow and this girly here end up going through this entire journey, and it's actually really good. I highly recommend it. It's on Netflix if you want to watch it. But next we have Kakegurui, and I don't know about you guys, this is so unhinged. This is like Food Wars. I can't think of anything else right now, but like Monster Musume. I'm like blanking, of course, right now when I want to think of what I want to say. But this is very, very, very unhinged for no reason other than to just like laugh hysterically. This follows a girl, and I always forget her name. Yumiko. Well, we're just gonna call her Yumiko. She's a new student that transferred to this university, or this academy called Hikau. I can't pronounce it. I'm just gonna call it H Private Academy. And little does she know, or does she not know, that this academy is rich and rife with like hella gambling addicts, and they have like the most unhinged like gamble that they could ever have in their life. Like this girl, beautiful being that she is, gets off, like hysterically gets off on like gambling and like the thought of either the winning or losing or like whatever could happen. Like she loves her some fate. And I don't know, it's hilarious because she doesn't know if she's going to win or not. But anyway, so she transfers to this academy, and like I said, gambling is like rife within this entire academy. Like after every class, like the students are just like hanging out and gambling. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, this is like so cool. Like let me join." And again, you have to kind of wonder, like, did she transfer here on purpose? Does she know? But we don't know if she knows yet. And you find out later throughout the books if she does, or do you? We don't even know yet, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, this is 2 seasons on Netflix, and I've watched the entire series a couple of times now, and it's still so hilarious. And reading the manga made it that much more funny. And it's literally just like fan service and obnoxicity, and that's probably not a word. Probably definitely. I'm like the queen of making up new words for no reason. But anyway, so after her I think it's her first day of this academy, after class ends, this girl comes up to her, and in the show she's like this blonde bimbo girl with like small titties. This girl is like black haired, long, sweet, gentle, kind, but also very hysterical with tigo bitties, you know what I'm saying? And she the blonde girl, I keep forgetting her name, ends up inviting her to a game of like card rock paper scissors. And later on throughout the game, Yumiko realizes that this rock paper scissors game is low-key kind of sketch, and so she ends up winning afterwards, but she puts this blonde girl in her place, and it is so funny, it's so hilarious. She loses her shit, and then like this goes through like essentially in the anime, it's like the first few episodes of the anime, and in the manga, it's like the first 4 chapters or so. Highly recommend it. Very funny, very obnoxious. Please be 18 or over to read this because I don't want a case. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not a big channel at all. I don't have any money being made off this channel. But you know, just go in there responsibly. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, Kakagurui, highly recommend it. I'm not gonna rank any of these or rate any of these manga because there's no reason to. It's not like I read the entire series. If I did, I probably would rate the series as a whole. But I feel like rating manga, I either liked it or I didn't like it, or I was kind of like mid, you know what I'm saying? So I really, really, really liked it, which means obviously very highly approved by myself. Anyway, getting into the nitty gritty of this month, you guys, people either love or hate this series, both the prequel and this, because you girl, okay, so let me just give you a little bit of story time. I saw this in the bookstore one day at Book Off, and it was like $5, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool!" And I like looked it up on Goodreads. It had high ratings or whatever, so I was like, "All right, cool, let's go ahead and check this out." This book has both the main series and a prequel series that kind of are meant to be read tandemly. The series also isn't finished yet, and it's looking to be like there might be possibly 15 to 20 books in this entire series put together. And I don't know if I can do it, you guys. Like I'm hoping to catch up on the series and then just kind of like read the rest of the series as they come out. But luckily 2 of the books that are in the series haven't even come out yet. So I have some time, you know what I'm saying? I have some time to like de-stress and like prioritize better reading experiences. But it's not that this is a bad series. This is a solid 4-star series. And I'm not even going to rate the books by themselves. I'm just literally going to like pick the books up, put them down, and tell you what it's about. So in the first series, we're following a girl named Poppy, and she's known as Penelope or some crap in the book, but we're just gonna call her Poppy for simplicity's sake because that's what she's known as throughout the entire series. She is a maiden who was brought up to be very demure, cutesy, like well reserved, put together, kind of like wears a veil and a shawl and like so fully covered up from head to toe. And she was just raised to be like that because once she gets older, she's known as the chosen, and she's supposed to be ascended to like the gods or something, and she's supposed to like hang out with the gods for the rest of her life. So she's raised this way. But little does everybody else know, Poppy has never done, well, no, everybody else knows this as well because like chastity and like what do you call it, being not being like keeping having your flower intact was like very important for her people or whatever. But Poppy decides that she wants to go and experience some things before she ascends, and so she ends up going out to this brothel one day, and she meets this guy named Castile. He's our main love interest. We find it out later, but she ends up having a little bit of a spicy time with this sir. Very cute, very like tiptoeing around everything without fully diving into the pool. You know what I'm saying? So they don't fully fuck. However, they do some stuff that Poppy has never done before in her life. Kissing, making out, having her breast be touched or something like that. But then like she ends up dipping out halfway through and goes home. Little does she know that in a couple of weeks when her knight, like one of her guards mysteriously passes away, Castile is going to be the one that replaces him. And then I believe like this whole series is starting to blend together. So I'm just gonna like tell you what I know off the top of my head. And like if I remember, I'll just like put the book down and pick up another one as they go through. But yeah, so he ends up kidnapping her later on to go to his kingdom, because little does anybody know, especially not Poppy, he's meant to kidnap her because he's going to trade her for his brother. And when she finds this out later, she's obviously rightfully pissed because girl, I'm I don't know what the fuck I was gonna say, but anyway, she's like, "What the heck? I'm not like one to be traded for. Like, I thought, like, I feel so betrayed." And she ends up like hating this motherfucker. Like, tries to stab him multiple times. No, she does stab him multiple times. But let me just set up the world for you real quick. Sorry, I forgot to do that in the beginning because your girl can never put anything into order and whatever. But in this world, vampires, werewolves, and zombie vampires that are created by vampires exist. And in order to split the vampires up, we're going to put them into categories. One is the Ascended. These are the vampires that we don't fuck with. And one are the Atlanteans. These are the vampires that we kind of fuck with. The zombie vampires are created by the Ascended because these Ascended cannot keep their bloodlust intact, and they say, fuck it, I'm just gonna drain this hoe and she'll come back as a zombie vampire, but I don't give a fuck because I was hungry. I'm just a girl. Like, leave me alone. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. So essentially, Poppy has been raised her entire life by these Ascended. And so when she realizes the truth later on in the series, possibly like between the first and the second book, she's had her thoughts and her suspicions, but when they're confirmed by Castile, knowing that he's kidnapped her and, you know, betrayed her, she obviously doesn't trust what he says, but she understands that like some stuff that he's saying are making sense. Like 2 + 2 is indeed equaling 4. And so eventually she realizes that these Ascended who raised her, groomed her, and like brainwashed her, like, were totally lying, and everything that she's ever known was completely false. So after she gets kidnapped by this guy, obviously they end up falling in love with each other because that's just how the cookie crumbles. And eventually Poppy is able to let her feelings kind of like let her be feelings of betrayal kind of like dwindle, just because she understands why he did it. But he's also on the flip side, he Castiel is no longer wanting to what do you call it, like trade her in for his brother, because his brother is being held by the Ascended and it is allegedly being tortured every day, and of course he wants to save his brother. So him trading her for his brother turns into he's gonna marry her under false pretenses to I don't know what the fuck, but allegedly this is supposed to like help the kingdom get back his brother. But of course they end up getting married for real. So um yeah. They eventually get to his kingdom. And also I just want to point out he has a very best friend. His name is Kieran, and they end up all having a threesome later on in the series. So if you're not really one for that, it happens one time from what I understand. It's not really like that intimate, and honestly it could have been much into put into much more detail, considering that this entire series is a very spicy book. And I am to the point now where I'm just kind of skimming the spicy scenes. I'm not gonna lie, I do like a good solid spicy scene in my book every once in a while, but like there's no build up. It's like every single chapter they're just fucking for no reason, and that's cool and all. Like I get it, a girl's got needs and a guy's got needs, but like I would rather at this point prefer for you guys to briefly mention it, for like, you know, the characters to briefly mention it, like, oh, we had some time this morning, oh, last night like Castile did some random stuff in the bed. I'd be like, okay, cool, moving on, because like the plot is more important, I feel like. So eventually, Poppy and Castile get to his kingdom, and Castile is also the prince of this royal family, and he's next in line for the throne because his brother is still imprisoned and likely died. And so when she gets to this kingdom, Poppy ends up realizing more things about herself that is like really fantastical and downright impossible. She's having all of these powers and thoughts and situations arise that are like, what the heck, what's going on with me? Am I going through like pre-menopause? Like, was this puberty? Is it hitting me? Like, what's going on? And so it ends up turning out that she's this very powerful being, uh from a line of very powerful beings, known as the gods and the primals and all that stuff like that. So when she gets to this kingdom, everyone is rightfully like judging her because she's the maiden, because like I said, the Ascended are bad and these Atlanteans are good. And the Atlanteans have grown up hating the Ascended because of what they've been doing every single day. And so like, rightfully, the people of this kingdom don't trust Poppy. They end up throwing stones at this hoe, and she tried to stop them, but some shit went down, and she just said, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna, you know, murk everybody by accident and say, oops, I'm sorry, I'm just a girl." And so what ends up happening later, is her when her I guess, you know, parents-in-law mother and father-in-law, future at least, because they do get married. When they see her, they end up like bowing down, and they're like, "This is the future king of Atlantia or queen of Atlantia." And so she ends up taking precedence over this entire kingdom. When we backtrack, but Poppy in the beginning, I'm kidding. Poppy ends up meeting a couple other of Castile's Atlantean people, and I knew this the entire time, but I wasn't confirmed until this part. And I'm not gonna say all. I'm gonna say he's one of the Atlanteans that Castile is very close to. He ends up betraying Castile and basically tries to what do you call it, like trade Poppy to the Ascended in order for something else to happen or whatever. But Poppy ends up going through this traumatic event with this guy and then kills him because, of course, the story has to go on. Your girl is not going to die yet because we're not even halfway through the series. And so, of course, she has to survive. This is actually, I'm holding up the wrong book. This is the first book in the prequel series. And I will just wrap that up and talk about this. So, everything that I mentioned just now was in the book that I had in my hands before this. So, quick little backtrack. Cast well quick little okay, so basically Castile ends up getting kidnapped by the Ascended. I guess you could call her like the Duchess. She's like some high and mighty up there, ranking in the royal family or whatever. She ends up like kidnapping him, and then we're left on a cliffhanger, but like we know he's probably gonna be okay. Um, Probably being the keyword here because I don't know. I've read too many series and read too many or watched too many movies at this day and age where at this point I feel like I'm old enough to see like the things aren't making sense and you're trying to put this plot point into order so that you can fix it later is kind of like what I'm trying to say. So backing up like millions of years ago, probably like thousands of years ago, we're following Seraphina and Ash. And I can't lie, I much rather prefer this series to. Hold on, give me 1 second. That didn't work. All right, we're just gonna be in the dark, and that's totally fine. My room does this thing where it's like if you turn on the light, it's censored, and so after about 15 to 20 minutes, it turns off. And we've been talking for like 18 minutes already, so it's turning off, and it's motion censored, which means I could throw something at the sensor for it to like catch up on it and turn on the lights. But you know what? It's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine. If it gets darker later, I'll just turn on the light again. However, so thousands of years ago, we're following Seraphina and Ash, and Seraphina is also kind of the maiden, but not really. She's the chosen, and in this day and age, the chosen are sent to the gods when they are of age. But she's actually a little bit different from the regular chosen. She's chosen specifically for the primal of death, known as Nyktos, but we're gonna call him Ash for the rest of the series. But when she's 17 years old, after years and years, like basically since she popped out the pussy, of being groomed to be like this very demure, cutesy girl who's like totally um able to like control men with her womanly wiles and know how to please a man in any shape or form, as well as please him outside of the bedroom. Um, she's basically been groomed to take this guy's life. Because I guess the only weakness that a primal has is one of like falling in love and having feelings or whatever. So at 17, this girly pop gets rejected. Ash straight up pulls up to her home, takes one look at her, and is like, "Ew, brother," and pops out. He's like, "I'm good. I have no need of a consort. Actually, you can leave now." And this strikes like a change in the way that Sarah is treated. So this entire time, Sarah has not been allowed to be like, you know, beat or like touched sexually, or like she's supposed to be have been left alone because she's promised to another, you know what I'm saying. But after this part, after being rejected, Sarah ends up getting like severely abused and neglected from her family. Mind you, she's still like 17 years old. She's still like technically underage. She needs her family support. However, she never had support to begin with. I mean, 1 second, I just need a little bit of water or a little bit of Sprite. In case anybody's wondering, I don't know why you would be. This is the new Sprite tea thing that came out. It's not bad. It tastes like a carbonated Arnold Palmer. It's not bad. Anyway, so a couple years later, a few years later, Sarah's now like 20 years old. See, I'm getting confusing going back and forth between those two series. And she ends up trying to track down these people. I'm so sorry, that's a total lie. She's finishing up a job and sees these mysterious gods in the street because the gods and primals are more active within this society as compared to present day. In present day, they're supposedly all asleep. So, yeah. be that as it may, she ends up finding these mysterious individual gods, and they're doing some suspicious ass things. So she ends up deciding to follow them. And once they leave a cottage one night, she finds that the Craven, which is like the zombie vampires, um, a woman was turned into one, and she's like, "What the fuck is this?" And the primal of death, but she doesn't know this yet. She just thinks that he's a god. Ends up finding her and is like, "You and I need to work together on this," and they end up working together on that. And later on, when Sarah ends up going home to hang out at her lake, she sees this guy again, and she's like, "Who the fuck are you? I've been going to this lake for years. Like, why are you in my space? Like, you probably came here to spy on me. You're such a pervert, or whatever the fuck else." And he ends up like telling her like, "No, I'm actually I forget how it goes, but essentially she ends up trusting him to go back to the Shadowlands or whatever the fuck, basically like where he's from. And she finds out who he is, like within this process, and she's like, all right, cool, I guess. But um what she doesn't know is that he's known who she was the entire time. He's known that this is Seraphina, his consort to be, and like the person that he rejected when she was super young. So he ends up taking her back to the Shadowlands, and she keeps doing some strange stuff. Like, she knows that this is Ash, she knows that this is Nyktos, and she's still on the mission to try and seduce this motherfucker so that she can murk him and save her people, because that's like the only thing that she really cares about. But as she starts to learn that um everything she's been taught is a lie, that this whole like lands being like what do you call it, decayed and stuff, is not Ash's fault. It's this thing that happened a long time ago that I'm not really going to say because it does have to do with the entire plot of the story. But her kingdom is going through what's known as the rot, where like all of the earth is no longer viable for like any sort of plant life. And so that can lead to like a very big chain reaction of like no food being available for the humans. So like starvation and famine and all that stuff is breaking out, and this is why she's trying to kill Nyktos, because she believes that this will save her people, but it doesn't. And she realizes that, and so she decides to change course of plans and is like, you know what, actually I'm gonna help him save my people because he can help me save my people, but also I may just fall in love with him for real. And so he ends up falling in love with her, kind of, not really, because he's not able to, but we find out later. And during this whole process, he realizes what she's here to do, that she's here to kill him, and he ends up like losing. It's kind of like what happened with Poppy and Castile, but like put it in reverse. So like now he's mad at her because she betrayed him. But yeah, this just is what it is. In the second book, so we go through the first three books in the or series order that you're supposed to read it, and then you're gonna go in like the wait, I'm totally lying here. Okay. Yeah, so you read the first three books in the original series, and you go back a step and read the prequel series, and then you go back to the original series for um the War of Two Queens. And so here, I'm so sorry guys, I'm tired as fuck, and I've been talking for like 30 minutes already, and I'm just ugh, whatever. But anyway, we go back to present day where Poppy is trying to get her mans out of jail, or out of, being taken prisoner. There we go. And she's in her like chaotic like revenge era. She's here killing every single person that is connected to the Ascended, while keeping her humanity intact and keeping the humans and the innocent civilians alive. And so yeah, she eventually gets her guy back. She also ends up killing this well, does she? I guess. Yeah. Yeah, she ends up killing the what do you call it? The Duchess, who ends up being, spoiler alert, part of the family somehow, and she finds out some other stuff. I'm trying not to spoil too much. I'm trying to like give you the gist of what the story's about. She ends up getting her guy back. Some shit happens. The big bad officially ends up coming back to life, and the big bad mentioned in the prequel series is also the same big bad that's mentioned in the series. So in case you were wondering, we have a big evil to defeat. It's essentially like what happened was the OG primal of death saw some pretty hot piece of meat and decided, you know what, I want that. But she decided to run off a cliff because she said, fuck you, I don't want you when you're greasy meat. I'm good, fam. She jumps off the cliff, and he tries to bring her back to life. But because he's the primal of death, he doesn't have life capabilities like his brother does. So he begs his brother to bring her back to life. It doesn't work. He gets mad. He tries to kill him. And well, he tries to kill his brother. And what he does is the primal of life decides to put this woman's soul into like a constant state of rebirth, so that the primal of death won't find her. And so what happens is in order to prepare for the possibility of her ever coming back in Primal of Death, finding her. Now the roles are reversed actually, so the Primal of Death is now the Primal of Life, and vice versa. But yeah, that's like a contingency plan that he puts in place, and in order to do that, he puts these while he's like on his deathbed, because the Primal of Death tries to kill the Primal of Life, which is why now the roles are reversed. What he does as a contingency plan is puts these last bits of his soul, like power and stuff, into Seraphina, and so now she's like super important. But lo and behold, the OG like girl that ran off the cliff that started this whole mess is actually within Seraphina's body. So like her soul is residing in her body. They are two people. They are just like sharing the same body. You know what I'm saying? But like she's like dormant. So like Seraphina has total control of her own self. You know what I'm saying? So um yeah. So he ends up Colas is the primal of death, which is now the primal of life, and he wakes up at the end of this book. And so of course we have to go back in time again because we needed to find out more about like what the fuck's going on. So Sarah is on the basically like she's trying to fight for her life essentially, because the primal of life is like trying to go after her because he believes that these like she's not supposed to be having these powers, but she's known as like this god that's like her cover up story, like, oh, I'm just a random god, like I don't know what happened, but like here I am, I'm just existing, you know what I'm saying? So Primal of Death eventually realizes that this may she is more important than she comes out to be, and so he ends up trying to kidnap her, and he does. And in the beginning, I'm kidding, I'm sorry, it's like a phrase that's like in my head nowadays. I'm actually on the Fire in the Flesh novel, and I'm currently reading that. So at the end of this book, the Primal of Life realizes that this that Sarah is like the that in the beginning. I'm sorry. Oh my god, I'm so tired. Yeah, so Satoria is the girl's name of the girl that like ran away and ran off the cliff 1,000 years ago. And now she's residing in Seraphina, and Colas is the primal of life's name. We're just gonna start adding names to these fuckers because I'm tired. And obviously you should just go read the series to find out your own like, information. But this is what I'm here for. So Colas ends up finding out that Seraphina is possibly Satoria, and so he decides to also what do you call it, like save her and keep her from being killed, but also what do you call it, like takes her prisoner. So now she's in prison, and we have no idea what Ash is going to do about it. He tries to save her and it doesn't work, and now he's in prison as well. But Satoria just like or I'm sorry, Seraphina is trying to like save him, but that's actually in the next book that I'm reading right now, and we'll talk about that in another video. So overall, this is a 4-star series, but like a solid 4-star series. This is not 4.5, 4.75, 4.25, 3.75. No, this is a solid 4-star series. I do like it when I read the books. It's just, you guys, this is such a long series. I feel like I'm reading Throne of Glass, but like spread out in a totally different world. And I'm kind of getting tired. I'm kind of getting burnt out. I'm not going to lie. Like, it's already July 6th, and I've only read like 50 pages. I'm trying to read more today, but I've only read like 50 pages of the next book, and I have a goal of like 11 books this month, but we're not going to talk about that because I'm going to talk about that in another video. So wish me luck. But anyway, we're going to go back into talk about another book that came out this past month. This is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig, and you've probably already heard this book by like other YouTubers and stuff like that. But this essentially follows a girl named Sybil, who's a diviner that works in this like castle or whatever. And what she does for a living is essentially she's like meant to be drowned every day, every other day, to like find these prophecies, and not prophecies, but like she's meant to see the future, i.e. the term diviner and the title diviner. But yeah, so eventually like her diviner friends, excuse me, go missing, and she's now trying to find out what the fuck happened to them, because like these are her best buddies. Like where's Bestie going? You know what I'm saying? And she ends up enlisting the help of a knight, and who's also like the main love interest, to go find her besties. And unfortunately, I can't say that because that's like a spoiler, and I'm not gonna say that because obviously I don't want to spoil the book for you, because I try my best, believe it or not, to not spoil the books on this channel. Anyway, some shit goes down. I kind of this was a meh book. I listened to this on Everend, and I can't lie, this was a 3.75 stars. And I want to honestly put it down to a 3.25 because I didn't hate this book. It was a fine book. It was a fine book, and that was about it. Yeah, that's like the short synopsis of this. A girl named Sybil loses her friends and now she wants to go find them. The saving grace and kind of still annoying part of this book was this gargoyle, and he ends up becoming a little bit important later. Well, pretty important later. But the this is meant to be a duology. Now, mind you, I will say the artwork on this book is beautiful, I can say, but this was not a good what do you call, like, refresher book from this series that I just talked about here. I was hoping that this would be a solid chaser. It was fine. It was fine, but I've just been a little bit in a slumpy mood, and that's okay. So, yeah, the gargoyle is kind of important, and we find out like who he really is later. I'm not gonna say much more than that because it's not really like something I should say. You should go read the book for yourself and figure it out yourself. I know a lot of people love this book. It just didn't hit that much for me. But we're not done. We also have The Mistake. And what a mistake it was. No, I'm kidding. It was actually a really good book. I will put it here because I read it on Kindle Unlimited. I am actually going in. I believe I've mentioned this in previous like vlogs, and not vlogs, but like reading wrap ups and July like TBRs and stuff. And I'm currently reading the Off Campus series by L. Kennedy. They're very fluffy, like filler books, or like chaser books if you're like in a reading slump and want to just like read something to get your spirits back up. This is a hockey romance. It's the first book follows like the main character, and he ends up having his own like relationship, but this one follows the main character's best friend. But he's like the MMC. The FMC's name I honestly forget, but she's cool. She's cool. You know what I'm saying? She's also a virgin, and what happens is like the MMC is like super playboyish, like never can't keep his dick out of his pants, or can't keep his dick in his pants rather, and he's like this the playboy of the school. But this girl has had the biggest crush on him, and so somehow he ends up finding himself at her dorm one night because he was trying to go to a party but didn't bring his phone, wasn't responsible at all, and asks to use her phone, and she's like, sure, I guess you can come in. And it's so hilarious because some stuff happens and he can't get a hold of anybody and he doesn't know anybody's number. So while waiting for the taxi cab people to like, pick up the damn phone because he's on hold for god knows how long, she's like, hey, do you want to watch a movie? Because she was watching a movie and he commented on it. So she's like, hey, I'm just gonna finish this. Like, you want to watch it with me while you wait? And he's like, sure. They end up having a great night of just watching the show. Um, I don't even remember what the fuck the show was, and I guess it's not really important to the story. But he ends up, my dude, this girl's a virgin, like I mentioned before. He ends up like eating her out and gives her the best orgasm. She's, oh no, I'm so sorry. This is the opposite. Ah, so sorry. She ends up getting him off while he's getting her off, but she doesn't orgasm. And so when he leaves, he's like, "Did you finish at least?" And she's like, "Nah." I mean, yeah, sure, I guess. And so he comes back like the next day essentially and knocks on her door. Like, doesn't even say go, like, sorry to go back and forth, but like the night before, he doesn't even say goodbye. He doesn't say anything. He kind of just dips out really awkwardly, and she just like, damn, like I can't believe I like this guy. Like, what the fuck? So the next day he comes back to her dorm, and she's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I just need 20 minutes of your time. And she's like, why? And he's like, did you finish last night? And she's like, yeah. And he's like, don't lie to me. And she's like, not, no, not really, but like, why does it matter? And he's like, it matters because it's gonna bruise my ego. And so she ends up having the most wonderful orgasm of her life 20 minutes after that. And he ends up like, it's so funny because there's a lot that happens in this book, but essentially they get together in the end, and it's whatever because of course, but it's cute. And of course I'm all over the place and nothing makes sense of what I'm saying, but yeah, it's cool. He ends up pissing her off and they end up having like a summer apart, and then he ends up spending the next semester winning her back, and so he wins her back, and everything's fine and dandy and stuff like that. But yeah, that was The Mistake. And then I also read Bold Moves, and I'm not gonna lie, this is available on Kindle Unlimited, also available to listen to on Kindle Unlimited. And I just, The Mistake was a 4 stars, 4.5. This Bold Moves book was probably like a 2.75. I'm not gonna lie, it was a nothing book, and I put these books in with this series that I'm reading, the long ass fucking series that I just mentioned, as like filler books, as like chasers for when I'm in a reading slump. And these past couple of books have just like not been it for me. And it's okay, because not every book is gonna hit like that one, those other books will. But God, what is this book even about? Okay, so essentially, like, I want to cry. Anyways, this book is essentially about this popular like artist, and some guy that she used to date wants to do a memoir on her because she wrote a book about her life story, made hella money off of it, and now he wants to turn this book into a movie, into a show or something like that. And so after like much groveling from this MMC, she reluctantly agrees and decides to go to this cabin with him in the woods. And I believe I just mentioned that they used to date, right? Yeah, pretty sure. But so this entire book, she's like this unattainable like bombshell girly, doesn't date, doesn't like get settled down, like whatever, boss bitch. But this entire book is just back and forth with them fucking and then not being together, and then fucking and wanting to be together but not being together. And it's like I was so bored at the end of this. I was listening to this on audio and like doing other stuff around my dorm, and I just like I wanted it to end. And I wanted to finish it because god, I wanted to fucking finish it. But I wanted it to end the entire time. I'm not gonna lie, this is not my favorite book. And for anybody who loves these books that I'm like rating low, I'm so sorry. It's just, it's not for me, and that's okay. But, anyways, these are the 11 books that I read this month, 9 books and 2 manga. It was okay. This entire month was okay, and that's all right. Next month will be another okay month. I can already tell, but you know what? It's okay because we're getting there. We're getting there together. But anyways, I am gonna go get some water now and try and rejuvenate myself because yeah, I'm tired. But anyways, if you like this video, go ahead and like this video. Comment down below if you've read any of these books, and if you have, if you like them or not. And I'm so sorry if I rated these books low, if you liked them and you rated them high. But anyways, I'm gonna head out and do all these things, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.